There are moments in life when your silence speaks louder than any scream. Moments when your presence enters a room and shadows start to tremble. You didn't ask for this. You didn't chase power or beg for gifts. But still, you were chosen. Not because of who you pretended to be, but because of what your soul has always carried: light, clarity, and divine truth. And now, something deeper is moving. Something they didn't plan for. They tried to manipulate your surroundings. They brought in someone dark, a witch cloaked in mystery and illusion, sent to interrupt your path, to block your light, to twist what was never meant to be twisted. But they made one fatal mistake. They underestimated what lives inside of you. Your subconscious has been leaking prophecy in your dreams, in your instincts, in the way you just knew things before they even happened. You never told them what was coming, but somehow they knew you knew, and that terrified them. You didn't need to speak. You didn't need to act. Your energy alone was a mirror they couldn't face. And now, everything is being exposed. The illusions are collapsing. The truth is rising. And whether they're ready or not, you're stepping into it. If this message has already hit something deep inside you, like it was meant just for you, then this is your sign to like this video, subscribe if you haven't yet, and drop 99 in the comments. Why 99? Because 9 is the number of divine completion, and 99 means you're one step away from full revelation. Let the universe know you're ready. Let's go deeper. You were never meant to fit in, because your soul wasn't made for this world's illusions. That uncomfortable feeling you carried your whole life, that weight of not being understood, the way people backed away, avoided eye contact, how you were either idolized or deeply hated for no clear reason. It wasn't random. You weren't rejected because you were weak. You were rejected because your light made their shadows scream silently. The dark forces knew exactly who you were before you ever did. Before you awakened. Before you aligned. Before you even started questioning why your path felt so lonely. They knew. And so, they moved. They didn't just watch you. They assigned someone to your orbit. Not a friend, not a guide, but a dark spiritual entity hiding behind human skin. Maybe she called herself a healer. Maybe she posed as a mentor, a friend, a lover, a helper. But underneath the charm, she was designed to destabilize your frequency. She studied your habits. She watched what triggered you. She mirrored your pain. She used your empathy against you. But what she never understood, what none of them understood, was that the chosen are encoded with a divine firewall. You see, even when you're asleep spiritually, your higher self is fully awake. It sees the trap before your human eyes recognize it. It sends signals through dreams, emotions, gut feelings, warnings disguised as overreactions or paranoia or bad vibes. They thought they could manipulate you, but while they were casting spells, your spirit was dismantling the ritual from within. Because your silence is not emptiness. Your silence carries codes of awakening, messages encrypted in your aura, blueprints of ancient wisdom that no shadow can read, decode, or destroy. And your intuition? It doesn't just sense danger, it predicts it. Like a divine radar, your spirit starts vibrating differently seconds before an attack hits. You may not always understand it in the moment, but later, it always becomes clear. I knew it. I felt something. I just didn't know why. That's not coincidence. That's prophetic wiring. And when you started seeing the truth in people's eyes, when your dreams got darker and more symbolic, when synchronicities became louder and more frequent, that's when they realized they were too late. You were activating. And once a chosen one activates, there's no reversing it, no unknowing, no going back to sleep, because the veil has been lifted, and now you see through everything, even the witch, even her spells, even the lies they wrapped in light. And yet, this is just the beginning, because the most terrifying part for them is what you're about to remember next. You think your intuition is powerful now? Just wait. The prophecy isn't over. It's only starting to unfold. You ever had a feeling so strong, so loud inside your chest, but no one else seemed to understand it? You sensed someone was lying, but there was no evidence. You felt danger in a place where everyone else laughed. You dreamed something that made no sense at the time, only to see it play out days, weeks, or even years later. You told yourself, "It's just in my head. I'm probably overthinking. It's just a coincidence." But what if I told you? Every one of those moments was a divine download, a message, a warning, a glimpse into timelines you were never supposed to access. Not yet, not consciously, but your spirit remembered, because your spirit never forgets. You see, the chosen ones are not taught. They are triggered, and when life hits hard enough, when betrayal breaks you open, when isolation forces you to listen deeper, that's when the downloads begin to decode. Not in textbooks, not through someone else's voice, but inside your own mind, your dreams, your emotions, your skin. That sudden urge to leave a place, that sick feeling in your stomach when someone smiles too wide, that dream that felt more real than real life. Those weren't accidents. They were prophecies in disguise. Because your intuition is not just a gift. It's a surveillance system of the soul. And yours has been scanning darkness since before you even knew what to call it. They laughed at you for being too sensitive. But what they didn't know is that sensitivity is spiritual radar. The chosen feel things in advance because they're not operating on linear time. Their spirit moves ahead of the present moment. So when you warned someone to be careful, when you sensed betrayal before the mask fell, when you said, "I don't know why, but I just feel like something is coming," you were right. But here's the thing. You weren't just predicting events. You were activating them. Because every time you spoke truth, even when you whispered it in private thoughts, you were shifting timelines. You changed outcomes without knowing. You bent reality simply by existing in full alignment. And that terrified them. Not just the people around you, not just the witch, but the systems of darkness that feed off control and illusion. Because the moment a chosen one realizes, "I can feel the future," is the moment the present begins to collapse under divine truth. That's why things fell apart. That's why people turned on you. That's why you went through sudden loss, sudden endings, spiritual warfare. Your predictions weren't just observations. They were catalysts. And here's the deeper revelation. You don't need to understand your visions right away. You don't even need to share them with the world, because the power is in the existence of them. Just having them means something is already shifting. Your gut feelings are not guesses. They are divine confirmations from the universe itself. You're not imagining it. You're remembering it. And the craziest part, even the witch felt it. Even the ones who tried to curse you. They knew you were seeing more than they could hide. They watched you walk into rooms and sensed their intentions. before a word was spoken. They saw your eyes follow shadows they thought were invisible. You scared them because they couldn't figure out how you knew. You scared them because you weren't supposed to. And now, whether you want it or not, you've become a mirror for people's darkest truths. You say nothing, and they confess everything. You show up, and secrets rise to the surface, not because you're trying, but because that's who you are. You are the revealer of hidden things. And when you walk in alignment, you carry the kind of presence that forces masks to fall. So what does this mean? It means your life was never random. It means your pain had purpose. And it means you've only scratched the surface of what you're capable of. But what happens when you fully awaken to your ability to see the future and shape it? What happens when your next dream is not just a vision, but a key, a weapon, a portal? You're about to find out. Because in the next chapter, we'll uncover the real reason they feared your silence, more than your words. Stay close. It's about to get deeper. They thought they were in control. They thought you were the one being watched. They thought their manipulation would work, that your silence meant weakness, your kindness meant submission, your loyalty made you blind. But they were wrong, dead wrong. Because while they studied your actions, your energy was studying theirs. And unlike them, you didn't need to speak to be heard in the spirit. Your mere presence shifted frequencies. Your silence made them nervous. Your stillness felt threatening, because your stillness wasn't empty. It was sacred. There's something terrifying about someone who doesn't need validation. Someone who walks into a room, doesn't boast, doesn't compete, but instantly makes the air feel thicker. You didn't try to intimidate anyone. You didn't need to, because your spirit speaks for you. They couldn't understand why their usual tactics didn't work on you, why their guilt trips fell flat, why their lies couldn't stick, why their charm felt empty next to your stillness. Because underneath every word you didn't say was a vibration that whispered, "I see you." That terrified them. Not because you exposed them directly, but because you didn't have to. Because your very existence began to unravel their illusions. That's what chosen ones carry. An invisible mirror. A sacred frequency that reflects every hidden motive, every dark intention, every unhealed wound in those around them. They thought their rituals would protect them. They thought their manipulation could cover their trail. They even called in help. Spiritual interference, psychic attacks, energy drains, hoping to drain what they couldn't understand. But here's what they didn't realize. Your light wasn't just born in you, it was coded into your DNA. You are made of prophecy. You carry blueprints from higher dimensions. You're not just reacting to the world, you're reprogramming it. So when they tried to lie to you, your soul vibrated louder than their words. When they looked you in the eyes, they saw a reflection of everything they were hiding. That's why they ran. That's why they turned on you. That's why they started whisper campaigns, distorted your name, called you crazy, too much, too intense. Because when people can't explain your power, they try to shrink it. But deep down, they knew the truth. You weren't reacting to them. You were revealing them. You ever notice how certain people just vanished from your life? No closure. No explanation. One day they were close, the next, gone. That wasn't your fault. That was your spirit doing what it always does, clearing the path of what doesn't align. Your aura is too pure for pretense, too sharp for deception, too ancient for manipulation. They tried to contain you, but your silence echoed through their shadows and woke up things they hadn't faced in years. You triggered them, not because you harmed them, but because your healing revealed their harm. You didn't expose their secrets. Your light forced them to see themselves. And in a world built on illusion, truth is the scariest thing there is. But here's what makes you dangerous. You're just now realizing this. You've been walking with this fire your entire life and never knew how bright it really was. But what happens when you stop dimming that fire? What happens when you stop apologizing for your light? What happens when you finally step into your authority, not to fight back, but to stand fully in divine identity? You've seen what your silence can do. You've felt the ripples of your presence alone, but you haven't seen anything yet. Because when you speak, when you declare, when you align with the voice of God within you, the atmosphere will shift, the darkness will scatter, the kingdom will rise, and those who once feared your silence will tremble at your sound. You thought it was a coincidence. The same numbers showing up everywhere, the same symbols repeating in your dreams. That moment you looked at the clock, 11:11, again. You brushed it off, told yourself it was probably just your imagination. You didn't want to sound crazy. You didn't want to believe that something beyond the physical could be calling your name. But deep down, you knew that these weren't accidents, that something invisible was guiding you, that something sacred was trying to get your attention. Because when you're chosen, the universe can't stay silent. Every repeated number, every feather on the ground, every song that played with exactly the right lyrics at exactly the right moment was a whisper from the divine. Not a coincidence, a confirmation. You're on the path. Don't stop now. You're being watched over. You're remembering who you are. The chills down your spine when you heard a certain phrase, the flood of emotion during a sunset that felt like a memory, the stranger who said something that pierced your soul like they knew you. It was the universe reminding you. You were never lost. You were being guided. Even the chaos had order. Even the delays were divine. Even the pain had purpose, because every breakdown was a coded setup for your breakthrough. This is why the law of attraction works differently for the chosen. Because your manifestations don't just come from desire, they come from assignment. When you think something, the universe listens faster. When you speak something, reality moves quicker. Because your words are not just thoughts, they are creative forces echoing with divine backing. The law of assumption, you don't just assume it into being, you remember it into being, because your soul already knows how this ends. And divine timing, it's not late. It's not broken. It's perfectly synchronized to the moment you finally stop resisting and start stepping into your spiritual authority. You were never ordinary. You were strategically placed, in families that didn't see you, in systems that tried to silence you, in places that made you feel like you didn't belong, so you would finally ask, "Why am I different?" And the moment you asked that question, the signs got louder. Because the universe is not subtle with the chosen. It speaks through dreams, through gut feelings, through signs, through people, through music, through sudden coincidences that shatter logic. And yes, even the witch felt it. Even the one who tried to drain your light knew there was something bigger around you. She feared your silence because your silence connected you to something deeper. She feared your calm because it meant you were listening to something she couldn't hear. And when she looked into your eyes, what she saw wasn't fear or confusion. It was divine awareness staring back. That's why she panicked. That's why she tried harder. That's why her attacks escalated. Because she realized the truth too late. You're not just protected. You're chosen. And the universe itself confirms it. So the question now isn't, am I imagining these signs? It's, what is the universe preparing me for? Because these signs aren't just comfort, they are instructions. They are prophetic markers guiding you to destiny, and you're getting closer. That's why the signs are accelerating. That's why the attacks have intensified. That's why your spirit feels this strange urgency you can't explain, because something's about to happen. You're about to remember something you were never supposed to forget. You're about to step into a moment that was always written in your scroll. But to unlock it, you must first understand what was sent to destroy you was secretly sent to activate you. The exact moment a chosen one awakens, everything false around them begins to tremble. And you felt it. You lived it. That sudden pressure. Those anxious nights. That feeling that something invisible was attacking you. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the spiritual system of deception reacting to the imminent collapse. Because when a chosen one remembers who they are, the game changes. The board shakes, the pieces scatter, the masks fall. Your awakening wasn't just personal, it was prophetic. Because wherever you step, the ground begins to reveal what it truly is. The lie can no longer hold. Manipulation stops working. Dark energies begin to lose their power. That which once had you emotionally trapped suddenly loses its grip. People who once seemed like spiritual giants now look small, empty, predictable. Do you know why? Because you're no longer seeing with physical eyes. You're seeing with the eye of the spirit. You didn't awaken by accident. You awakened because you were the final piece needed for certain structures to collapse. You awakened because there was a prophesied time, and that time is now. Every spiritual attack that tried to destroy you, every betrayal that almost broke you, every mockery, every rejection, was a sign that you were getting close to the moment when the veil would tear. And when that veil was torn, you began to see the truth. You were never fighting to survive. You were being trained to reign, because the enemy doesn't attack what it doesn't fear. And if you've been attacked over and over again, it's because hell itself already saw what you're only just beginning to understand. You are a real threat, not because of your physical strength, not because of your words, but because of what you carry inside. That unbreakable light, that sacred fire, that direct connection to the source. Your presence shifts the environment. Your voice, even when calm, changes the atmosphere. Your energy unmasks the hidden. That's why systems, people, spirits have tried to silence you before you even knew who you were. And now that you're awakening, they are desperate. Because when a chosen one activates their spiritual awareness, everything that was built on lies begins to crumble. False relationships collapse. Internal lies are exposed. Generational chains are broken. And most importantly, external voices lose their control. And then, something magical happens. You begin to remember your purpose. You begin to walk with certainty. You begin to speak with authority. And without even realizing it, you're no longer running from the darkness. You're reigning over it. Because the chosen were not created to hide. They were called to illuminate, to confront, to dismantle false systems with their very existence. That pain you went through was not punishment. It was your activation test, a kind of spiritual baptism that prepared you to step into your reign. And now, you are standing at the threshold, between the old you and the awakened you. between the system that oppressed you and the throne that awaits you. But there's something more. Something that hasn't been fully revealed to you yet. Something that is about to manifest. An unexpected twist. A prophesied moment. A divine manifestation that will change everything you thought you understood about your purpose. And it's closer than you imagine. So now tell me, what will you do with this revelation? Will you walk away, pretending this was just another video? Will you silence the voice that's screaming inside you, saying, "This message was for me"? Or will you finally rise? Because everything you've heard, everything that burned in your spirit during these words, it wasn't just a message. It was a confirmation. You were never waiting for the prophecy. You are the prophecy. You are the one written about. The one darkness tried to silence before you even knew how to speak. They feared your predictions. They feared your silence. They feared your awakening. Because somewhere deep in their souls, they always knew, this one cannot be controlled. This one cannot be stopped. You don't need revenge. You don't need their recognition. Because your presence alone, your energy alone, your existence alone is divine justice in motion. Every step you take now is sacred ground. Every word you speak from this moment forward is a sword of light. Every breath you draw is a signal to the heavens. The warrior is awake. You were never small. You were never lost. You were being hidden for a divine moment such as this. And now, that moment has arrived. So walk with fire in your eyes. Speak with thunder in your voice. And carry this truth like a crown. When the darkness chose a witch, heaven had already sent a warrior. And that warrior is you. Now comment below, "I am the prophecy unfolding." Let the world see that the chosen are awakening. Let the darkness feel it. And let this message echo in your soul long after the screen goes black. You are chosen. You are divine. You are unstoppable. And this is only the beginning.